Missed an episode of your favorite podcast? Choose from over a decade of content in our archives, not just the latest episode. All free at GCNlive.com.
This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Dr. Shealy, are you blissed?
Yes.
Me too. Me too. You know, I was Dr. Shealy. I was telling Brad that I called you, and or that we were talking about your. Well, let me ask you this: do you remember me calling you like a day or so ago, and I was all excited? You remember that?
Of course I do.
Would you mind sharing just a little bit of that discussion, and then I'll flesh it out? Because I've got even more to tell you.
Well, Vince had been, let's just say, not feeling well. He's had this chronic problem with the lungs for over a year, and he put himself in front of the Sapphire Enhanced Scalar device, and, you know, for some time, I don't remember how long, but at any rate, he felt so good. He's out standing on a ladder, doing all kinds of things. That's the gist of the discussion.
Yeah. So class, you know, I've had this chronic lung problem, and I've had every kind of test you could possibly think of, and I was very, very, very slowly getting better. I mean, very slowly. And I decided a few days ago that I would put this adrenomedulin Sapphire Enhanced Scalar Energy device right up against my chest for 3 minutes. And I noticed something immediately. I was sitting on a bench, and it was powered up, and I was holding it by the corners. And I noticed that I was able to sit perfectly still, not sway forward or backward, not lose my balance in any way, shape, or form with my eyes closed. Absolutely motionless, still. I thought, this is really interesting, almost like I was in a trance. I looked over at the digital clock with the red display that we've had for darn close to 30 years. And, you know, I looked at it and I decided I would do this for 3 minutes. So I closed my eyes, and 3 minutes later, I can tell when 3 minutes is, and I opened my eyes, and it's about 3 minutes. And before that, I had this cough, cough, cough. I couldn't stop it. Kind of like Hillary Clinton's cough. Couldn't stop it.
Oh, come now. You haven't had a total brain transplant. No. And so I took this device off my chest, and within a minute or so, roughly a minute, I had this really productive cough. And that was pretty much it. And I didn't cough for the rest of the day, which was highly unusual. So that night, I did the same thing. And I was coughing. Toward the end of the evening, I started coughing again. And I put this your device up to my chest, and right where my throat is, just under my chin, 3 minutes. Had a productive cough, and that was pretty much it for the coughing. I did that the next day. I found myself, you know, running around the farm doing things that, you know, I'm still 65, okay? And it hasn't changed. And I'm doing things that I would say the average 65-year-old is probably not doing without this lung condition, okay? Well, I've got all this energy, I'm hyper, and I'm getting things done, and I'm climbing the scaffolding. Mrs. Finelli and our son and I decided to redecorate the solar panel array.
It has 28 panels on it. They're 3 feet by 6 feet in height. They're 2 stories high, and it takes climbing in the bucket of a backhoe, front bucket of a backhoe, to get these things to the second level of height. They're screwed in from the back. They're drilled and tapped into this frame that we made, and so it's really the hard way. So we're taking them off in one mounting fashion, and I didn't like that. I wanted them bolted better, and so this is version 2.0. Taking them down, moving them, putting them back up, and so Mrs. Finelli and I and our son are doing this, and it's laborious, and it's heavy, and it's windy, and these panels are like sails, and trying to hold on to them, and they're made out of glass. So nobody in his right mind would be doing this, right? But but we're doing it, and so I'm using my chest muscles, and I would be in intense pain under normal circumstances from this disease. Well, I'm here to tell you that the improvement in my health, my lung power, my stamina, my strength is increasing at an increasing rate. And it's not just it's just a little bit better. It's not just 2% better. It's way better. Now, so I was so excited, I called Dr. Shealy. I said, "You're not going to believe this. Dr. Shealy, you're not going to believe..." Well, I called him Norm because he wants me to call him Norm. But I can't do that on the air because it's out of professional, out of respect, I call Dr. Shealy on the air, even though he insists that I call him Norm. Anyway, so I was so excited. I told him that this is what's happening. I said, "You're not going to believe it." He said, "Believe it, believe it, believe it." And it's absolutely true. Now, here's something that happened that I didn't tell you, Dr. Shealy, because I didn't know about this until last night. So Mrs. Finelli said, "Hey, Vin, how does this work?" And I said, it's really difficult to explain this. And actually, we don't really know exactly how it works. She said, "Well, my hip's been bothering me for months, because she's been helping us build this rack and painting the rack and climbing up and down in the bucket and all that stuff. And this has been a pretty long project. And her hip's been hurting, and she's the same age I am. And lately, by lifting these solar panels, she hurt her thumb and she couldn't open jars in the kitchen. Like if she was going to cook and get some pepperoncini out or something like that, she couldn't open the jars. So she said to me last night, "So how does this work?" And I was, kind of at a loss to explain it. And she said, I tried it, and I didn't know she was going to do this. So she held it against her hip, and she said for 2 minutes, because I told her what my experience was, and then she put her thumb in front of it, and she said her thumb doesn't hurt and her hip doesn't hurt. So Dr. Shealy, now this is it's only 2 small cases. However, they were independent, and she does not imagine things. She just doesn't. And I'm here to tell you that I am absolutely delighted with the response. Now, does what I'm telling you, does this seem far-fetched? Because
not at all. Not at all, Vince. Bill Tiller, Ph.D., physicist, former retired chair of this department at Stanford University, has said that if you could channel or focus the energy in empty space, which is filled with scalar energy, and you could focus it in the amount of space equal to a hydrogen molecule, it would have enough energy to boil the ocean. So what we've done is not only focus the scalar energy, but amplify it by enhancing it with crushed sapphire crystal. Crushed sapphire is a much, much stronger piezoelectric material than quartz. Piezoelectric means it can receive, store, and transmit electromagnetic energy. Now, to summarize, our experience with scalar, and the reason I call it adrenoscalar, is our first experiment was to look at its effect upon the single greatest chemical lifelong monitor of your stress level. Adrenomedullin in young people is quite low, below 10. Gradually throughout life, it goes up and up and up. I did an experiment with 28 people. Everyone was essentially over 100. One woman went up over 500 in her baseline of adrenomedullin. For 4 weeks, they spent 9 hours a week, 3 hours usually at a time, in the scalar room. And at the end of that time, after only 36 hours exposure, the adrenomedullin came down an average of 52%. That's when we went back and amplified it with the sapphire. Then we actually checked their free radicals in the urine. Free radicals are in everybody. They are the cause of aging, cell death, and ultimately our death. Average free radical, and they spent 3 hours in the sapphire enhanced adrenoscaler room, and the free radicals went down 40%. We took a drop of blood, just one, well, 2 drops of blood, really. 1 drop of blood was looked at immediately under the microscope for inflammatory responses, of which there are a number. The other drop of blood was put for 20 minutes in front of the sapphire enhanced scaler and then looked at. Now, ordinarily, a drop of blood looked at 20 minutes later is already beginning to deteriorate. And it sort of dies within an hour left on the slide. In 20 minutes under the scaler, every monitor of inflammation was markedly decreased. The blood got better instead of worse with time. So, and we now have looked at what happens to your EEG, a computerized EEG, a brain map. If you're just relaxing, you truly relax, you're going to produce some delta. But if you put the scaler within a couple of inches of the top of the head, the delta doubles or more. So it puts you into deep, deep relaxation. In my opinion, scalar is number 1, 2, and 3, the greatest stress reducer ever discovered to this point in time. Now, we are about to do a year-long study of people sleeping with it in their bedroom.
Hold that thought. Hold that thought. We'll be right back. Class, Dr. Norman Shealy is with us. And, Dr. Shealy, as much as I love the commercials and as much as I love hearing them here in the studio with my headphones on, I took the headphones off and I said, I've got another minute. I raced over to the scalar energy device for a quick tune-up.
Oh, man, you were wonderful.
So I got a 30-second tune-up. So you were telling us about this year-long study.
Yes. Telomeres. We've already demonstrated that if you'd use 3 of the bliss oils, fire, earth, and crystal, but you have to use them every day, only a minute and a half, but you still have to use them. Yes. It will regenerate your telomeres 3.5% in having them usual as if you've got good health habits, shrink 1%. But using the scalar just in your bedroom, I believe, will, so you just go to bed and your whole body and both, the whole bedroom is filled with it. I believe it will regenerate your telomeres. Now, it takes a year long to do this. So, when you and Sandy are willing to come in to the office Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, the blood has to be drawn on one of those days. I will pay for the test, send them off to the lab, and give you the new adrenoscaler device, and then a year later we'll redraw the blood. I believe that both of you will have further regeneration of your telomeres.
Well, if what I'm experiencing now is any indication, I absolutely positively agree. Now, my only concern is I believe I have felt a dramatic improvement, in like 2 weeks.
Oh, I believe it. But to get your total body stem cells actually to reproduce takes a year.
Okay, because I was just concerned that maybe I might have messed up the test.
Anything. Look, I believe we could start at any point and still see the benefit. In other words, like from my telomeres have increased 3.5% a year for 10 years. So they're 35 years younger than when I started.
Well, let me ask you this, Dr. Shealy. I have noticed in our neck of the woods that there are a lot of people who are having respiratory difficulties.
Yes.
Now, is this based on what my experience is with this device? Now, I want to make sure that our class understands it. I'm not ignoring vitamins, minerals, supplements, and eating well and good behavior. So I'm doing all that. In addition to this device we're talking about, Dr. Shealy, is this something that would, in your opinion, at this point, would benefit those who maybe have COPD? I don't. I've never been a smoker, so I don't have that problem. I just had a colonizing bacteria problem, and like chronic pneumonia. It's like never-ending pneumonia, which is like no fun as well. But
I don't know without trying it, Vince, but I believe it would. Now again, yours is a short term, relatively speaking, compared to COPD. So your response is likely to be faster. So I think it might take longer with someone with COPD. But in my opinion, I haven't found anything in the last 80 years that comes close to the benefits of this particular device in overall biochemical stress reduction.
I was thinking about, there was a television character. His name is Mr. T. He's a big black guy, and he liked wearing lots of gold chains around his neck. And, I was thinking, gosh, this must be heavy. Well, this is, and I was trying to think, what would this be like? Okay, because I've heard people say, in terms of supplements, boy, it tastes terrible. And, I'm not going to do it because it tastes terrible. Okay, that's a problem for some people, not for me. But what would be what could you say would be the negative to doing this? And I was thinking, okay, so Mr. T wears these chains around his neck. That sounds like it'd be, a nuisance to me. Well, we're not talking about wearing this around your neck, but if you did, it'd be less than that. So we're talking about the equivalent of having a picture frame on the nightstand, roughly 8.5 by 11, plugging it in with a little wall transformer. That's it. That's the whole job right there. Then your next assignment is to sleep in that room. And that'd be your bedroom anyway. So it's like nothing to this, Dr. Shealy. This is like a 1-minute installation, and the rest is benefit, 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 benefit. Am I misstating this at all?
No, I think you're just summarizing what I found.
Yeah, we'll be right back, class. Dr. Norman Shealy is with us. NormShealy.com, NormShealy.com. Dr. Norman Shealy is a medical doctor, PhD times 3, author of way over 30 books, a national speaker. He's been on the radio over a couple decades, and Surgeon of the Year. Dr. Shealy, this test that you're doing, will you be? Do you have your volunteers all lined up? I mean, I'm all excited about this. I really am.
I do.
Okay. I was just wanted to. I'm sure the class was thinking about. Boy, I'd like to be part of this.
Right.
So I was just wondering if you already did.
Well, they can do it on their own, of course, but for the research people, I pay for it.
Yes.
But that's because I really want these results. On the other hand, all of the other health benefits are theirs without measuring the telomeres. So that's, to me, again, I do think quite conservatively this is infinitely the most important discovery of my life.
Well, I've got to tell you, class, I am not embellishing, enhancing. What I've told you is absolutely true. And I haven't called Dr. Shealy to say, Dr. Shealy, here's What results should I get? What I did was I called him and I told him I was so excited a couple days ago that I was so excited about these results. I had to call him. I just couldn't contain it. And he said, yeah, that's what he expected. And it's absolutely incredible. So you heard it right here on the air. Dr. Shealy, one of your pet peeves and mine are these cell phones and how dangerous they are. I'd like to I'd like to read. Okay, in so many respects. As a matter of fact, if Americans realized how many fatalities, how many injuries there are relating to these cell phones, they would put a stop to it. If it weren't so convenient for them to find out what everyone around them in their little circle of friends and family are doing, if they weren't so concerned with that, they might put them down. But let me just read this. This is from Bloomberg.com. Amid a historic spike in U.S. traffic fatalities, federal data on the danger of distracted driving are getting worse. It says Jennifer Smith doesn't like the term accident. It implies too much chance and too little culpability. A crash killed her mother in 2008. She insists when her car was broadsided by another vehicle while on the way to pick up cat food. The other driver, a 20-year-old college student, ran a red light while talking on his mobile phone, a distraction that he immediately admitted and cited as the catalyst of the fatal event. He was remorseful, Smith, now 43, said, and he never changed his story. Yet in federal records, the death is not attributed to distraction or mobile phone use. It's just another line item on the grim annual toll taken by the National Highway Transportation Safety Administration, one of 37,262 that year. 3 months later, Smith quit her job as a realtor and formed StopDistractions.org, a nonprofit lobbying and support group. Her intent is to make the tragic loss of her mother an anomaly. To that end, she has been wildly unsuccessful. Sounds familiar. 9 years later, the problem of death by distraction has gotten worse. Okay, that is just part of this article. During the break that we just had on this broadcast, I called her up. I got her phone number. Called Jennifer Smith. She said she was unavailable or unable to take my call, or she was driving. That's what her message said. And so I left her a message, and I invited her to come on the air with us. Now, Dr. Shealy, so it's not just you and me. She's with us. And not only have we not been successful in broad terms of stopping this plague of cell phone distractions, she's been unable to as well. So
Vince,
maybe
there's an article that came out within the last month that shows that when someone is just talking, not even texting, just talking on the phone, they are functioning at the level of someone who is slightly drunk.
I absolutely believe it. I absolutely believe it. Because, class, if you think about it, let's say you think back to the days of a corded phone, with a cord, like the kind I have at our home. And some of these I have 25-foot cords on so I can walk in paces, I'm talking. But I got to tell you that if during the time, let's say it's a 10-minute call, I am distracted by the phone call. So if I had to do something that required concentration and talk on the phone at the same time, I would not be able to do it. I wouldn't. And that's with a corded phone.
I just had an idea. We have instead of distraction, the term should be phone drunk.
Yes.
Let's get going phone drunk as what it is when you're talking on the phone.
Yep, and you're right, because even the Missouri Department of Transportation, they've got these signs all over that you can change the text on. And I guess they were put up allegedly with the intent of saying, fog ahead, accident ahead, crash ahead, mowing ahead, slow down because, those kinds of things. They're also, when they're not being used for that, they're saying things like, put the phone down. Put the phone down. And there's no question. What you're saying, Dr. Shealy, is absolutely true in my mind, and I'm sure it is with others as well, that it is really a distraction and it's really dangerous. And, well, I don't want, if I were having an operation, I would not want the surgeon to have his shoulder holding the phone and the scalpel, in his hand. I wouldn't want that. I wouldn't want an airline pilot, if I were flying, to be on a cell phone. I wouldn't want a bus driver if I had children on a bus going back and forth to a school or to an event. I wouldn't want that driver on the phone.
No,
I don't want
kicked off the bus forever with one episode.
Absolutely. And yesterday the term came up, let the punishment fit the crime. And that's something we're not doing. We're not, we're letting people get away with crimes and too little punishment. But I think if someone were distracted and injures someone, I think there ought to be hell to pay. Absolute hell to pay. And if enough hell were paid, other people would say, boy, there's a lot of hell to be paid for driving with a cell phone. I better not do it because, that person was in prison for 5 years or on the road gang for 5 years or whatever it was. And it destroyed their life being stupid, checking messages like, how you doing? I don't know. How you doing?
Then
I don't know. What are you doing?
2 days ago, I hear on the farm, one of the ag students who is working, with Joe to run the farm, was driving the Gator up and down our curvy drive, talking and I think texting even on his phone. I consider that total. That is moral, ethical irresponsibility.
Mm-hmm. Now, class, let's just tell you what a Gator is. On the farms, there's a lot of things that need to be done that involve hauling something heavy. And a Gator is a John Deere manufactured, it can be a four-wheeler or it can be a six-wheeler. And some of them have a tilt bed. So if you're putting fence posts in there or bags of feed, that weigh 50 pounds apiece, and you want to bring them out a quarter of a mile across the field to where the cows are, or you want to bring them mineral supplements or salt licks that weigh 50 pounds apiece, things that are heavy and that you need to bring far. That's what a Gator's for. And some of them have bench seats. Some of them have, 2 bucket seats. But it's a all-purpose vehicle. It's kind of like a small truck, okay, that can get around the farm really well. That's what a Gator is. Now, they have different brands, but Gator is the John Deere model. And you're absolutely right, Dr. Shealy, because those things can probably go 30 miles an hour. You can, really haul in them, move quickly. And you're right. I would, if that person were under my employ, it would have been over right then and there. Because how much is a Gator? $6,000, $7,000, $8,000, $9,000, $10,000. A used one is $6,000. So I wouldn't want somebody handling my equipment on my farm, risking his or her life and potentially damaging the equipment and causing damage to the farm and animals. I wouldn't allow it. I want, Dr. Shealy is a little bit off track, but when I was teaching high school computer science, I had my students sign an agreement with me. I would provide the instruction and they would provide certain things. And one of the things that I had as a line item on this multi-line item contract that they and their parents signed was that they would give 100% attention 100% of the time. And I would not allow anything less than them paying full attention to everything that they were doing. Now, this young man that you're talking about was not doing that, was not paying full attention. No way he could be. He was multitasking.
Fortunately, nobody came around the curve as he maneuvered it, but they could have.
Well, I've been on your farm road many times, and it's curvy, and it's gravel. If that's the road you're talking about,
I'm actually talking about our drive from the road up to the house. Even it's curvy.
Yes. Is that what you're talking about? Your driveway?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, not only that, Dr. Shealy, it's only 1.5 cars wide.
Yeah.
So if two cars are coming in opposite directions, one of them's going to have to move over, or actually both of them are going to have to move over, or there's going to be a collision. No question about it. And our farm road is no different. It's the same. It's curvy, it's gravel, and it's narrow. We'll be right back. Class, Dr. Norman Shealy's with us, and we're talking about cell phones, and we're talking about distracted driving and dangers of it. And Dr. Shealy, just one more exclamation point. As part of this article in Bloomberg.com, the article is titled, "Smartphones Are Killing Americans, but Nobody's Counting." Let me just read one more paragraph. It says, "Perhaps more telling are the findings of Zendrive, Zendrive Incorporated, Zendrive Inc., a San Francisco startup that analyzes smartphone data to help insurers of commercial fleets assess safety risks. In a study of 3 million people, it found drivers using their mobile phone during 88% of trips. The true number is probably even higher because Zendrive didn't capture instances when phones were mounted in a fixed position, the so-called hands-free technology, which is also considered dangerous. So we're saying 88% of the trips, people are using cell phones. That's almost every trip, Dr. Shealy. So my concern is if I'm in a vehicle and I'm paying attention and I'm doing everything I can to not crash and not be involved in an accident caused by somebody else, people are using their cell phones in 88% of their trips, which to me is totally unacceptable. So I just wanted to share that thought.
I just wrote one of my upcoming e-newsletter. Just talking on a phone creates a mind equal to someone lightly drunk. Cell phones are now a greater cause of auto accidents than alcohol. Total destruction, like seriously drunk, is texting. Driving or walking on sidewalks while talking on a phone is stupid drunk. Cell phones are seriously dangerous to your health and those around you. You are a terrorist in action. That's as mild as I can put it.
Yeah, and not only that, I mean, just from an annoyance standpoint, how many times have we been in a checkout line, waiting for the cashier, and then the cashier is, doing the transaction for the customer. The customer might be the one customer or two customers ahead of you, and then the customer gets a phone call and then gets totally distracted, forgets what she's doing, and is oblivious to the fact that she's now enhancing the length of time that you've got to wait to get through the register. The gal at the register is annoyed because it's holding up traffic at the register. Everyone in line is annoyed, and the person on the phone is oblivious. We see it at restaurants. The waiter or waitress comes around, and the person who is going to be ordering the meal puts their finger up. So like, wait a minute, I'm on the phone. And the waiter's thinking, it sure would be nice if you paid attention so you could get this order so we could get the rest of the, our customers served. Wouldn't that be nice? But we see it with people pushing shopping carts. They're totally distracted. They have no idea that they're parked in the center of the aisle. They have no idea. They're totally distracted. Now, extrapolate that. Class, please extrapolate that. Now we're behind the wheel and we're doing that. Totally oblivious to what's going on. It's got to stop. It's got to stop. It's unacceptable. So that's all I have on that, Dr. Shealy.
Well, I think it should become a serious crime.
Yes. Okay, so we're proposing right now that a bill that makes it a serious crime, a felony, to be on the phone while behind the wheel. Now, not necessarily while you're moving behind the wheel, because there are people who are at traffic lights who are also on their cell phones. They think it's a perfect time. This is safe. We can, get on the cell phone and start talking now because we're not moving. But what they don't realize is that they may not be paying attention, and they could be involved in an accident that they could avoid by getting out of the way. The ambulance may be coming, the police car may be coming. A lot of things could be happening that they're oblivious to because they're on a cell phone. Dr. Shealy, so now that many of us in class have had our stroke from this discussion, can we talk about recovering from a stroke? What do we do if we have a stroke? Dr. Norman Shealy, and I'll be right back after the break. Everyone all set? Cocked, locked. Hour number 2 of USA Prepares. Dr. Norman Shealy's with us. We were talking about scalar energy during hour number 1, and I just had time during the commercial announcements and top of the hour news to climb on the scaffold, take some measurements for the solar panel, get a quick tune-up. Get a quick tune-up, and and I'm back. I got to tell you, Dr. Shealy,
Vince,
I'm looking.
You have given me an idea for my next invention.
What's that?
I'm going to make a small one of these. Maybe, let's say 6 by 6 inches at the most. Run by a battery. That could be used for local pain.
Okay. Well, I just took out the ruler. Okay. Now, Dr. Shealy, if you made that size of a cell phone, it would fit in. Well, I know, but that size, yep. Okay? I'm thinking 3 inches by maybe 4.5. That would fit in. Enough? Excuse me?
You think that would be big enough?
Well, I think that would be the ideal size, so that guys could, carry it with them, either in kind of a leather type holster that's large enough to carry a cell phone. That's why I came up with that size. Cell phone size.
Well, our bosom buddy, I'm going to invite Lou to start working on it.
I think he just heard it. Lou is a wonderful, wonderful person. He is so calm and mild-mannered and brilliant, all in one package.
Absolutely a genius with electronics, yes.
And kind.
Oh, yeah. Kind. All of the above.
Yeah. And class, Lou Cassidy is the gentleman we're talking about, USA Prepares instructor. He's been to our Get Prepared Expos, and just a great guy all around. Stroke recovery, Dr. Shealy. So can we start with what is a stroke for those who may not know? It sounds like a kind of a strange term for such a serious event.
Well, a stroke actually can be many, many, many different things. It is the loss of function of any brain activity. So it can be losing your speech, losing your consciousness, losing your ability to move your arm or leg or face, or just numbness in one of those areas coming on suddenly. So in general, when a diagnosis of a stroke occurs, it is most of the time one in which the person becomes unconscious. But it could be just, quote, just the paralysis of any part of the body. And it can be caused by any number of things, from spasm in a blood vessel that's called a transient ischemic attack, by a blood clot taking place in any size artery in the brain, or by a rupturing of a artery in the brain, or by pressure on the brain from an abscess or a tumor. So there are many, many causes of the sudden onset of, loss of function of any part of the brain. Now, depending upon what the cause was, obviously the potential for treatment varies all over the place. As with everything else, the single most important thing is prevention. John Knowles, whom I quote very frequently, wrote in the late 70s, 95% of people are born healthy and become unhealthy because of human misbehavior. And the human misbehavior he was talking about is rampant. It's worse today than it was in the 70s. At the top of my list right this moment would be talking on a cell phone while you're doing anything. But it's your habits, your eating, your exercise, your sleep. All of these things are important misbehavior if you do the wrong one. Now remember, only 2.7% of Americans have the basic essential health habits. So that means that 97.3% of people are stupid. They are humanly misbehaving. And they're misbehaving and leading themselves to every known disease when they are smoking, in any kind of, I don't care if it's one a day or a pack a day, that is a human misbehavior that leads to stroke, heart attack, cancer, disease, lung disease especially. Number two, 70% of Americans are just plain stinking overweight. 35% of them plain old stinking fat. That is a human misbehavior. Number three, the average American consumes 2.2 servings of fruits and vegetables. That's a human misbehavior. You need a minimum of 5 or 6. And next, only 10% of Americans get 30 minutes of exercise 5 days a week. That means that 90% have a human misbehavior. So any one of those or combination of those can be part of or the precipitating factor for a stroke, heart disease, cancer, or diabetes. Which organ it picks out in which to cause the major trouble is all over the place. It's partly genetic and all kinds of other things. Don't know if I've answered your question.
Yeah. You know, as you're saying this, I was thinking about, I was prescribed prednisone, a steroid, and I had massive inflammation. And so, respiratory inflammation. So I was prescribed this, and I was like eating everything in sight. And I gained weight. And as I think about this, Dr. Shealy, I was thinking that I wonder if one of the reasons that, you know, we see so much obesity is prednisone, I think, is prescribed not quite like candy, but for a lot of maladies, right?
Oh,
isn't prednisone?
Yeah.
Yes.
And indeed, other than in very serious acute illnesses, I would not prescribe prednisone.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll tell you, class. Let me just tell you, it winds you up. What if you are anxious to begin with? You're really anxious, and you know it's known to make people grumpy. It's known to make people aggressive, heightened aggression, and it tends to make people eat like food is free, and this is like the last meal you're going to get. So what happened to me was I'd wake up in the middle of the night and I'd have 2 more dinners in the middle of the night, like 3 o'clock in the morning. So I couldn't stop it. Well, I weaned myself off this steroid, but you know, I started getting this little bit of a belly, and I didn't like it. Well, I went from 138 pounds. I was probably 128 in high school. And at age 65, I'm typically weighing in at 138, 10 more pounds. But I gained 6 more on the steroid. So I was up to 144, and it was like all in one place, well, almost. And I'm thinking, gosh, I don't like this. I really don't like this. It's uncomfortable, you know, having this extra 6 pounds. So, you know, I weaned myself off the prednisone. And here's what I did, Dr. Shealy. It was really simple. You know, when we open our kitchen cabinets to get dishes and cups and things like that and saucers, there are generally three sizes of plates. There's the dinner plate, there's a dessert plate, which is smaller, and then there's the saucer, you know, that you'd put under a cup that, you know, matches the the china, if you will. And I said, number one, I don't think I need to have this great big plate. I can use the smaller plate. I can actually eat lunch on the dessert plate. I can eat breakfast on the dessert plate, and I can eat dinner on the dessert plate. So I had a smaller plate, and I ate less. And now I'm at, this morning, 138 pounds. That's right where I want to be.
Now, Vince, we've been talking about human misbehavior. Now we're talking about optimal human behavior.
Yeah.
I mean, if you know what you are doing wrong, all you got to do is make a change in habit. I mean,
Yes.
there's an old-fashioned thing called willpower.
Yes, but I got to tell you, it's darn near impossible to if you're on.
Yes.
Yeah. It's hard to go past food. It's impossible, okay? And so what I'm saying is I think that there are some individuals who probably can't help it because of the craving. I mean, it's nonstop. And what happens is, you're pushing more and more body into the same area, and everything's getting tighter. It's getting harder to breathe. It's getting harder to move. Carrying more weight around. It's not a good thing. So I guess what I'm saying is, I decided I didn't like it. I didn't like it when it was happening, and I really tried to eat less and less and less. And finally, I was able to do that, but it was difficult because it was a chemical dependency. And it wasn't psychological. It was a chemical dependency. But when I weaned myself off it, which I determined I was going to do that. And, my doctor said, you don't have to do that. Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. And I will. As a matter of fact, I'm, going to get off everything. Everything that I'm on, I'm getting off it. And I was able to reduce my weight. And now I'm running around like I was before. Well, not quite. Almost full speed.
Well,
and I like it.
At age 12, I did get a little pudgy to me. I don't know. It probably wasn't more than 5 pounds. But I suddenly realized I had, let's say, 5 pounds excess weight. And I made a decision. I would starve before I would be overweight. And I didn't have to starve. I just cut back. And I'm sure that within a month I had lost the 5 pounds. And so,
okay, and Dr. Shealy, what I'm hearing is it's as simple as that. Telling yourself you're going to do it. Just like telling yourself when your steering wheel is turning toward the Golden Arches and you see it up ahead and your car wants to go there. And you just say, no, I'm not going to let that happen. I'm going to overcome the steering wheel trying to turn right into that parking lot. I'm not doing it.
Fire the car.
Yeah, there you go. Class, Dr. Norm Shealy is with us, and if you'd like to get his free newsletter, normshealy.com. Just go to the website, his website, normshealy.com, normshealy.com. You can peruse the website. You can read his suggestions for optimal health. You can buy his books. You can buy his bliss oils and the youth formula, the same youth formula that I take. It's vitamin C with MSM. I take it daily, actually multiple times a day, under Dr. Shealy's direction. Dr. Shealy, is there any reason why a person should not take your vitamin C with MSM, your youth formula? Did I lose Dr. Shealy? Okay. I have a feeling he'll call back. Okay. Class, so keep this in mind. You can go to Dr. Shealy's website, normshealy.com, and I can't think of a reason why it wouldn't be good to take the same vitamin C formula that I take, and it's called Youth Formula, Dr. Norm Shealy's Youth Formula. And I wanted to mention that on Friday, coming up in just a couple days, at 4 o'clock, right here on GCN, I've been invited by Dr. Bill Deagle to be his instructor. So Vinny's going to be on the hot seat on Friday, this Friday, with Dr. Bill Deagle. And what are we going to talk about? Well, we're going to talk about what happens when the power fails. and I'm going to give some real life experiences and suggestions, because I know what happens. The first thing that we do is we look for, if it's dark out, we look where the matches. Where are the matches? Where do we put them? Okay, where are the candles? Can't remember where the candles are. Well, they were. Can't see to get over there because it's dark, right? And then we look for the kerosene lamp, and we look for. So that's the first thing we do: get lights back on so we can see what we're doing. That's what happens when the power goes out. So I'm going to talk about just a really simple, very inexpensive way of overcoming all of that without matches. I mean, you can certainly have matches if you want, and without candles and without flashlight to get lighting back on at the flip of a switch. A really simple way to do it. And do I know it works? Yeah, I do. Why? Because I built one of these in our house, and it's been running for years. Brad, did you say Norm's back?
Yeah,
Great.
They've cut off 3 times, Ben.
Wow. Okay,
but
so
I'm back.
maybe it's we're going to be discussing something that maybe they know we're going to talk about. So anyway, on
Probably
Friday,
the dumb phone industry.
So on Friday, class, I'll be Dr. Bill Deagle's guest, and we'll be talking about preparedness and LED lighting, a very simple way that you can install it. And I've tried some things that they say don't work. I'm here to tell you, I know they work. I know they're safe. And the least expensive way you can do it. And so when the power goes out, you just flip the switch, and you are in business. It's as simple as that. And we'll tell you how to do it on Friday. We'll be talking probably about generators as well. And, things to think about with generators, like how much fuel do they use and how much do you need, and the maintenance and the costs, and on and on and on. And I've got a better solution for many of you, which is absolutely silent. It makes no noise at all. And it will do some of the same things. So if you are interested in that, that's Friday at 4 p.m. Central Time on Dr. Bill Deagle's show. And I will be his guest. Okay, Dr. Shealy, we were talking about I wanted to lose weight, and all I did was tell myself I am going to lose weight no matter what, okay? And I reduced the size of the plate. I just went from, using a standard size plate that you might use for lunch or dinner or breakfast, and went to the next smaller plate. We had them. I didn't have to buy anything. And here I am, painless, and I lost weight, and I feel so much better. So willpower is important, and if you want to, why don't you try it? Now, are there any risks, Dr. Shealy, in doing what I did?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you eat the average American diet, no matter how little you eat, it's still junk.
Well, I don't do that. Yeah.
Of course not. But I want to point that out to people.
Right.
I don't. Again, you've heard me say this before. I went to McDonald's in 1962.
Yep.
I took one bite and I spit it out. Mm-hmm. And I've never been back. Yep. I don't go to McDonald's. I don't go to Arby's. I don't go to any fast food restaurant, period.
Yeah. And if you left that
store, I don't shop on the center aisles except for toilet paper and soap.
We'll be right back. Dr. Shealy, Bob in Michigan is with us. Bob is an entrepreneur, and he's calling in with some questions for you. Welcome, Bob.
Hi. You were talking about factors causing stroke. Did the doctor mention high blood pressure? Or what is
Dr. Shealy, are you able to hear Bob?
Well, I am. I need to know whether he's taken anything so far. Is he overweight?
I'm just asking in general. I mean, I've had doctors advise.
Oh, okay. Well,
that,
in general,
at
the top of my list is Kyani Nitro Extreme. 15 drops twice a day, up to 30 drops twice a day. Works extremely well, safely, with all kinds of benefits, and reduces blood pressure adequately in 70% of people.
Well, is high blood pressure a disease or is it a symptom?
Well, it's both. because it may not cause symptoms that you feel, but it's a finding on exam, and it is a precursor for stroke and heart attack. So it's something you want to get under control, definitely. Now, if the Kyani Nitro Extreme does not work, the next best thing is a combination of Dr. Shealy's Essentials, Dr. Shealy's Youth Formula, and taurine, 6,000 milligrams a day. That works in 90% of people. A lot more things to take, but it's safe, and it works. So it can be brought under control in the vast majority of people by those two things. If that doesn't work, of course, there's autogenic training, where you retrain the autonomic nervous system.
Bob, you bring up something. You bring up something I think is very important, and I'm glad you asked it the way you did about blood pressure. Is it the symptom or
is a sign of something underlying? Because
yeah.
Look, I believe our body was designed by a creator that built in certain safeguards. It's a self-healing mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when your blood pressure goes up, I believe that's something that's been designed into our body for a reason. So there's a reason your blood pressure has gone up. I don't believe it happens out of just,
And it's called stress.
Rather than just lowering the pressure, I think it's better to try and find what the underlying cause has caused your body to raise its pressure to compensate. It's kind of like, if you were trying to get a certain amount of water in a pipe and the pipe got clogged up, you'd have to turn the pressure up. But if you just lower the pressure, you're not going to get the same amount of blood, water or blood flow. So maybe
let me ask this.
Could cause.
Bob, let me ask this question. I think this might be something that's on your mind.
Yeah.
Dr. Shealy, inflammation. Now, what I've noticed is I've had inflammation in two places in my body. One where I had some surgery where I coughed out part of my intestines, and the other in my lungs. Now, when I got that under control, my blood pressure came down. Now, it seems to me that there was a relationship between the inflammation and high blood pressure. And when the inflammation went down, blood pressure went down. I think that's where Bob is going, that kind of a relationship.
Well,
is that it, Bob?
Yeah, exactly.
100% of illness is some kind of excess stress. There are scores of causes of excess stress. All kinds of chemicals, all kinds of physical things that can do it, and all kinds of emotional things, anger, guilt, anxiety, and depression. So any combination of one or more of those can cause not only high blood pressure, but essentially every known disease. And inflammation is just an irritation in a specific area that is caused by excess stress.
What is the doctor's opinion on chelation therapy?
I think it is wonderful, and I think everybody should consider it instead of the most stupid, ridiculous procedure in history, which is coronary bypass.
Yeah.
Dr. Shealy, is a Myers cocktail a regimen that is used for removing toxins from the body?
Well, in a Myers cocktail, you add something called EDTA, and that becomes chelation, and that is the one that's used for chelation. And it does reverse coronary artery disease.
Mm-hmm. Is that something that I've had, Dr. Shealy?
No, you've not had that.
Okay.
You do that only when you're certain that the primary thing you're treating is atherosclerosis, particularly of the heart.
Okay. Bob, I think your questions are really valid, and I think and pointed, and I'm with you, and I appreciate it. Is there anything else you'd like to ask Dr. Shealy?
No, I guess not at this time. Well, I could talk about eczema.
Well, please do. Please do.
That's again, it's an inflammation where the immune system has gotten out of control.
Well, yeah, let me tell you my story. I can remember when I was extremely young, probably maybe even preschool, all of a sudden my fingers all swelled up, and they were full of pus and inflammation just suddenly. And that was a major problem. I had to soak it. I had the doctors back then. I had to soak it in some kind of a purple solution that would turn my hands brown. And that went on for quite a while. The fingers would swell up, and there was pus, and it was miserable. But it's actually just become eczema on my hands. And I've always wondered if there was some kind of connection with maybe a childhood vaccine I had way back there in the 50s.
Well, we'll never be able to tell out what happened that many years ago.
Right.
But something toxic happened that your immune system reacted to, and it's been part of it ever since. In my experience, that's a situation where you want to be sure to take adequate vitamin C, at least 2,000 milligrams a day, 1,000 milligrams of MSM, methylsulfonomethane, 20 or 30 milligrams of astaxanthin, 100 milligrams of tocotrienols, and at least 50 milligrams of B-complex. That will reset the immune system in most people.
Okay.
Bob, if you go to Dr. Shealy's website,
yes,
you'll see some of the products that he's talking about. Kyani, Kyani, you can get them right there from him, and Nitro Extreme you can get from him, and the tocotrienols you can get too, and they're in capsules that you can take 3 a day. Is that what you're recommending, Dr. Shealy?
Yeah.
At night, in the evening? Okay. And one of the... go ahead.
Fortunately, as I've gotten older, it's not so bad anymore. But anyhow, it's like I say. I always wondered if I had possibly a vaccine back then, which would have been, like I say, way back in the 50s.
We got a bunch of them. We all lined up at school, and bam, bam, bam. It's like they had a machine gun ready for us.
Yeah.
Literally. Yep. Dr. Shealy, Bob's bringing up a couple points, and they dovetail with some of my questions. Bob, please stay with us if you don't mind.
Oh.
Dr. Shealy and I got cut off during the broadcast today, and I wanted to ask the question about his formula called Youth Formula. Now, it's vitamin C and MSM, which he just recommended for you.
Yeah.
Dr. Shealy, and you recommended 2 grams or 2,000 milligrams per day. And I take this. Actually, I take more than that. I take either 2,000 milligrams 3 times a day or 3,000 milligrams twice a day. And
most
of your
people
youth
tolerate that very well, and that is, if you need immune strengthening, you can go on up as long as your intestine tolerates. Some people could go as high as 10,000 total. Somewhere between 5 and 10,000, some people will get gastrointestinal or colonic or some kind of irritation. But up to 5,000, almost everybody will tolerate.
Okay, so Bob, consider that. And if you want to go to Dr. Shealy's website, it's normshealy.com, and you can order the same thing that I take. Now, Dr. Shealy, in addition to enhancing my immune system, I, according to your recommendation, following your recommendation of many, many times on this broadcast, I went to the supermarket and I bought Greek yogurt, but plain Greek yogurt in a 16-ounce container, and it's in the refrigerator, and I will take a clean spoon and take this container out of the refrigerator, get 1 heaping tablespoon, and eat that many times a day. And then, just dip once. I don't double dip once. And that is a serving for me I do that many times a day to help build up my immune system because I was on antibiotics, which I think destroyed my immune system. Is that something that you'd recommend to Bob as well as others who want to fight off?
I would say at least 90% of people will benefit from that kind of probiotic. I do think that over-the-counter as a food, plain Greek yogurt is the best of the probiotics. And so I make my own homemade kefir. And so I drink about a gallon a week of homemade kefir, which is the other one that has good probiotics in it.
Bob, if you want to hold the line, I've got a couple other questions, and I'm sure you do too. And I think this will kind of round out what you're thinking and want to know. Is that something you can do? Can you stick with us?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Bob in Michigan, he's an entrepreneur, and he makes speaker grills for vintage speakers like JBL and Marantz and the really nice speakers of. Dr. Norman Shealy is with us, medical doctor in class. His website, normshealy.com, NORMSHEALY.com. And if you'd like to write down his phone number, should you desire a consultation, Dr. Shealy, can you provide that phone number that you have in Springfield, Missouri?
417-351-5221.
Class, let me repeat that. 417-351-5221. That is the telephone number for Dr. Shealy's clinic in Springfield, Missouri. So, Bob, here's what I wanted to share with you. You were talking about eczema. Now, Dr. Shealy mentioned that's a problem with the immune system. Well, we have dogs that live outside, and they get tick bites and they get flea bites, and sometimes they just can't stand it and they'll chew their hair off. And what we found is to stop the itching, Mrs. Finelli and our son will apply coconut oil to that spot, and it seems to soothe it, and within a couple weeks their hair's back. So Mrs. Finelli tried that on her when she gets tick bites. You know, we're farmers, so this kind of stuff happens. We get tick bites and we get chiggers and things like that and flea bites, and so immediately she will put coconut oil on that spot, and it almost immediately stops the itching, and within a couple days it's like there hasn't been a bite. Dr. Shealy, do you have any comments on that? Is that okay to do?
Well, it's certainly okay to do. I that's a new one for me, but this is a wonderful thing about personal experience. Often it comes upon something that is outstandingly good for everybody.
Okay. So, Bob, from my perspective, not from a medical doctor's perspective, just a farmer, you may want to try coconut oil. It seems to work really, really well. And you can get it at the Chinese factory outlet. You can get it at Sam's Club. There are plenty of places where you can get it, and you can even cook with it. So just a thought about that. Next question, and Bob, you may be interested in this. I was doing some research, and when I talk to people in waiting rooms, and if I'm the designated driver to take someone to a doctor's appointment, I just can't sit there. I'll talk to the person to my left, my right, across from me. And it seems like lisinopril is something that a lot of people are on. And, it's a derivative of snake venom, and it's used to treat high blood pressure. Dr. Shealy, I was reading some of the side effects, came home, and complications of lisinopril, and headache, okay, people can live with that. Dizziness, well, maybe not so much, especially if you're behind the wheel. Persistent cough, that's not so good. Low blood pressure, chest pain, and then hair loss. It can cause hair loss because it's toxic to hair follicles.
And
so the
if you're
question
a
is,
male,
Dr. Shealy,
it can cause erectile dysfunction. But other than that, Mrs. Lincoln.
I hope you don't grow scales, too.
Yeah. So, Dr. Shealy, if someone's on lisinopril, do you have a recommendation for if they've decided to wean themselves off? Is it safe to go cold turkey or what?
Done under supervision. Definitely, okay. I have no trouble adding any of the supplements that I mentioned, but the weaning part of it, you got to be careful. You must not stop a drug suddenly.
Okay, because your system has become dependent on it.
Well, you can get a rebound, yeah.
Okay. Bob, in the final minute or so of this broadcast, do you have any questions for Dr. Shealy that maybe we have not touched on?
What's this kefir he was talking about, this homemade kefir?
Well, yeah, you can buy plain kefir at some grocery rare or good health food stores. And basically, if I'm making a gallon of it, I put in a full pint of the original mother liquid, so to speak, and then fill up the jar with whole milk and just let it sit at room temperature with a cover over it for 24 hours, and it's ready. So I do that about once a week, and I either use two quart jars or one gallon jar. And if I'm only doing 2 quarts, I just leave 1 full cup of the kefir plus the rest of it with whole milk.
Okay. Did that help, Bob?
Yeah, fine. Yeah.
Hey, Bob, thanks so much for calling in. I appreciate it. And I know our class does as well.
Okay.
Class, I want to thank Dr. Shealy for being with us, spending 2 hours with us as he does on Wednesdays. Dr. Shealy, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And class, above all, you too. Class, above all, honesty and integrity. What happens next?